If you're anything like me, you have felt for your entire life like there is a reason why you were put on this earth. Why is this? Why do so many of us feel like we have a reason for being here, a purpose, something that we are called to do that will make this world a better place, that can help other people, and will make us fulfilled and joyful? And yet, so few of us end up doing that thing. Why is that? Well, I have a theory, and I would like to tell you about my purpose paradigm. Before we get too far into this, I want to talk a little bit about why it's important to me. Like I said, from a very young age, I always felt like I was here for a reason. And the language that I was given when I was younger to understand this feeling was the Bible, Christianity. And I thought for the longest time that that was it, that was the thing. That is why I felt I had this purpose, because I am one of God's children. And then I was exposed to other religions and spiritualities and philosophies and worldviews, and realized that purpose is much more complex than just religion, and that the reason I felt I was put on this earth is not unspiritual, but it is deeply personal and actionable. Unlike what the Southern Baptist churches and Christian environments and organizations that I was in Texas wanted to tell a young woman. As I began exploring other philosophies and I fell in love with different art forms and began to see myself as a creative and explored the things that I could make, the things that I could see, the languages that I could speak that other people couldn't even begin to see. And then I met the people who did see that. And I realized I wasn't the only one that felt indoctrinated into this secret code of living that is bigger than any one of us and actually has nothing to do with any specific God. It has to do with our humanity, our shared experience of being a human being, until I met some of the people that finally saw me in a way that felt real, when I was finally courageous enough to show up in a way that was real and allowed people to see me. Until that moment, this sense of purpose was a life raft in an ocean with waves of not just ideas, but rules and regulations and scripts that were written for me, sometimes by me, but largely by all sorts of different people and places in the world around me. Being able to finally develop my own language around what this is, around this experience, has been one of the most empowering things I've ever done. I think we all deserve to have this relationship with our purpose. We all deserve to live a life that is in alignment with our highest beliefs and the person that we want to be, whatever that looks like for you. And so few of us get to do that. It takes courage and bravery, but it also takes hard work and intention and effort and not an unhealthy dose of privilege to be able to do this too. Alan Watts has a talk called The Dance of Life, and in it he talks about this idea of the conveyor belt that we're plopped on at a very young age. And in kindergarten, you're told, work hard, learn your colors, your letters, all of the things so you can do a good job in first grade. And then all throughout elementary school, you're told, work hard, get good grades, be a good kid so that you do well and are prepared for middle school. And in middle school, you're told, work hard, get good grades so you can do well in high school. And also be the leader of everything. Be in any organization you can. In high school, you better work hard in everything that you can so that you can get into a good college. And why do you need to get into a good college? Because you want a good job. Why do you need a good job? Because you need money, honey. And why do we need money? To eat, to provide for our family, to not go to bed scared every night, to have a roof over our heads, to be protected and to be provided for, to have our base level Maslow's hierarchy of needs met. And then you got to work really hard at your job. Why? So that you can get that promotion. And then why do you get that promotion and keep working hard? So that you can work your way up the company. And why do you want to work your way up the company? More money, but also because one day you're happy? When does this conveyor belt stop? When do we decide I don't have to accept the lie of this conveyor belt? Why? Why is that the pathway that so many of us are sold to fulfillment and success? Yes, being able to provide for ourselves and those we love is important and is a baseline need. Why does that also have to include selling ourselves out, selling our souls out? I don't believe it does. A few weeks ago, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, which is Psychology for Your 20s with Gemma Speg. And if you have not listened to it, I highly recommend you do. For this episode that was titled Overcoming Purpose Anxiety, she had on Elizabeth Gilbert, who is the author of Eat, Pray, Love and Big Magic. And Big Magic is one of my all-time favorite books. It is phenomenal. Highly recommend, especially if you are a creative person. And in this episode, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about these 4 categories that tend to be conflated in our society: work, career, calling, and hobbies. Those are the 4: work, career, calling, and hobbies. And she says that your work is just the thing you do to make money. That's all it has to be. It doesn't have to be this grand calling. Your career is a forward-moving idea of work, turning your work into something long-term, big, working your way up a company kind of thing. Your hobbies are the things you do that bring you joy, that bring you passion, that light you up, that are separate from work. And your calling is not something that everyone has, but is this drive, this purpose, for lack of a better term, for something bigger than yourself. While I agree that these don't have to be the same thing, I do disagree with the idea that they can't be. And while I think, yes, there is a lot of pressure to pursue our purpose and understand what this big, giant question mark and mystery is, I think a big reason behind this is because we have been sold a bad definition of purpose. I also think that there needs to be a way that we can ask these questions while living a sustainable life and not having to ignore these questions in sacrifice for money, for finances, for safety, for security. I believe we all have a right to pursue our purpose and our life. I want to offer you a different definition of purpose to invite in this idea that all 4 of these things can actually be laced and imbued with our purpose, and they don't have to be imbued with anxiety. If you're enjoying this so far, please subscribe to the Cohere Collective's YouTube channel. Drop this video a like. It really is the best way to support this work and allow me to continue having conversations just like this. Thank you. I think we can begin to unpin this falsehood that we have been sold about purpose when we understand purpose by its true definition. Going back to the etymology. The etymology of purpose comes from the Latin propositum, which means an intention to be put upon, or a thing intended to put, right? It's this idea of a notion that is pushed forward. It is kinetic energy in ephemeral form. And I really love thinking about purpose as an intention, as a thought that can help guide our actions. It is not a box to check. The way this word originated was actually the motivation that existed behind something tangible, not the tangibility itself. So I want to offer my definition of true purpose and how that's different than the false purpose we have all been sold. I also, because I'm a language nerd, am going to offer the etymology of true and false and why these are the words that I have decided on for these categories. False comes from the Old English false, which means not of the true faith, or the French fausse, feigned, mistaken. And when I think of feigned, I think of someone feigning death, right? A performance, an exaggeration, a dramatization. Purpose is not something to be performed. It is something to be embodied. Now, if we look at the etymology of true, of course, there's the Old English of the true faith that comes from true. The Middle English would further this as being faithful, full of faith. And I also want to offer these definitions not within the context of religion or Judeo-Christianity, Abrahamic traditions, but in the actual definition of faith, which is to believe in something that cannot be seen or proven. And that's what purpose is. It is not tangible. It is not something you can hold in your hands, but boy, is it something you can feel. When we don't have faith in our purpose, when we don't believe in our purpose, when we are told you can't see it, you can't prove it, so you can't pursue it, this is the purpose that we are sold, our false purpose. This is a purpose that exists in isolation. The starving artist, the tortured poet. While those aren't necessarily wrong ways to feel your purpose, I don't think that true purpose actually breeds isolation. 2, this false purpose is a known entity and it's stagnant. You are born with it and it stays that way until you die. If your purpose is to make music, you're gonna make music. And you did it. You fulfilled your purpose. Box checked. The third element of this false purpose is that it creates anxiety. If you don't know what it is, if you don't know how to pursue it, you should worry about it and you better figure it out. Fourth element, it encourages capitalism and a false meritocracy. So much of our purpose is sold as a bag of goods that if you do what you are good at and you do it well, you will get to the top and you will be rewarded for it. How will you be rewarded for it? With money and power. Most of us know that that is not actually how the world works, that the world is unfair, that those in wealth tend to stay in wealth. But if we're told that our purpose encourages this conveyor belt of moving up the ladder until we reach the box of purpose that is checked and we achieve happiness, we will stay in that rat race. We will stay on that hamster wheel because it feels precious. It is this goal to be working towards, the top of the mountain, the peak that you will reach eventually if you work hard enough. And the last element of false purpose is that this purpose is the thing that makes you worthy. If you have not done anything with this false purpose, what are you doing? What are you making? How are you giving back to the world? What are you producing? Now you can probably tell by my demeanor, I disagree with all of these things. And I do believe that this is the purpose that Liz Gilbert was denying and saying causes us anxiety and should be abandoned. And I agree. We should abandon this lie of purpose, this unfaithful purpose that doesn't find value in our experience of who we are. But instead of abandoning the concept of purpose, of an intention to be put upon our lives altogether, I want to offer a new definition of true purpose, of a faithful purpose that takes up ownership in you. Where false purpose breeds isolation, true purpose creates connection. It largely lives in community because when you are chasing your dreams, you attract people who do the same. When you are living authentically as yourself, you magnetize yourself to people that vibe with your frequency, that are proud of what you're doing, and you create a safe space for other people to be their authentic selves too. I have a podcast called Making Meaning where I interview people about how they live meaningful lives and how they've pursued their purpose. Every single guest that I have had on in almost 3 years of making that podcast has said that there is purpose and meaning to be made in helping others. It's connection. It is our human condition that we all share, that we want to have in shared experience together. It's important and cannot be ignored. 2, where false purpose is stagnant and it is one thing to be achieved, true purpose is ever evolving. It's not a box to be checked. I don't know about you, but the purpose I feel doesn't really have a name. It's not to be an actor, even though that was something I was very passionate about when I was younger. It's not to volunteer or start a nonprofit, no matter how beautiful those things are. It's more intangible than that, and it can grow as you grow because it is linked inextricably to you, intrinsically to who you are. And as you unfurl and bloom into the different areas and facets of your purpose, you will discover new parts of yourself and new parts of the purpose that you are meant to walk. 3, true purpose does not create anxiety, it creates curiosity. When there is an unknown, when there is a mystery, when there is something that is a big question mark, our purpose is the thing that can drive us forward. It is the flashlight in the depths of the cave. Life is too vast to know everything. And having your purpose as a soft place to land, to take care of you, allows you to try things and fail safely without that being a failure, without that being even a success. It is an experience to add to your tool belt, to color this other dimension of purpose, to add this piece to the puzzle, as long as you continue exploring what this can be, what this looks like. 4, true purpose is not rooted in production. It is free from value, and it can exist just for you. This is one that I have had to work really hard to decode and deprogram and still really struggle with for myself, because I want my job to be purpose-driven. I want to be able to live life on my terms and just not have to worry about money and just be secure. But that is not a reality for most of us, and that's okay. Your purpose can be the lens through which you see the world and does not have to be the thing that drives a product, that drives a business, that is the entrepreneurial spirit, that is innovation. It can just be for you. And that does not make it good. That does not make it bad. It makes it yours. The final facet of true purpose is that it is not the thing that makes you worthy, but that it comes and blooms when you have the understanding that you are already worthy. This is a hard one. All of us are born inherently worthy. There is some unique magic in you. Call it DNA, call it soul, call it the breath of God, call it chi, call it energy, call it your mind. I don't care what you call it. I believe in it. And I believe in you. And that is what makes you worthy. Because you exist in this moment. You are worthy of your wildest dreams. You are worthy of taking a chance on them. And when you step into the reality, the truth that you are breathtakingly, unimaginably, indubitably magical, you'll feel your purpose. For most of us, our purpose sits at the intersection of our self-work and what we give back to the world. That means learning these realities of I'm inherently worthy, of I am deserving of love, of healing our inner child, of integrating any of these pieces that we thought were broken and actually allowing them to be beautiful parts of ourselves and our story. When we do that self-work, your purpose blooms, because your purpose, again, is a piece of you and you a piece of your purpose. The final piece that I want to add to this purpose paradigm, alliteration, again, language nerd, is the idea that purpose is a tool. When you consider true purpose, I want you to think of it as a compass, not leading you towards a North Pole or the top of a mountain, but as a guide on your path through the woods. There's some marker on this compass that when you pass through feels right. And that is the direction that you can keep going in. That is the curiosity, the connection, the self-love, the worthiness to pursue. In that direction, that path can be lined with anything that you choose. I like to call that purpose point coherence. And that's why you'll notice the name of the channel is the Cohere Collective, because I want us all to live in coherence. I want us to live coherent lives because we're worth it. And not only are you worth it, the world is deserving of your coherence. It needs your coherence. In a lot of self-growth work, self-care work, this kind of self-helpy industry that admittedly I exist in, these things that are supposed to increase our self-love, increase our self-care, increase the way we love ourselves, become more tools for shaming ourselves. I didn't get my journaling in today. I forgot to take my vitamins. I didn't do my affirmations, or insert anything here. When these tools become cages, they are just as harmful to us as anything else. I hope you all are familiar with the work of Brené Brown, and if you're not, please go familiarize yourself. But we all know how important vulnerability is and how quickly shame shuts down our truth and our connections. Purpose cannot thrive when we are not being vulnerable, when we are allowing that to be the piece that shames us into submission. And that's what false purpose wants. That's what this bag of goods that we've been sold, this snake oil, is telling us, is that one day you will reach your purpose and you will be happy. But along the way, they are burning your energy and taking it and using it to fuel their power-hungry machines. Reclaim it. Take it back. Self-love and self-care is not about the thing that you are doing. It is about how you are doing it. And that is really the piece that I want to communicate here with your purpose. It actually doesn't matter what the hobby, work, career, calling is. It matters how you do it. There's a Buddhist proverb that says, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. I don't care what chopping wood and carrying water looks like to you. I do care that it's purposeful. And that is up to each of us. That is up to you. Thank you so much for being here, for listening to my thoughts on purpose. If you are interested in this kind of stuff, please go check out the other content that is on the Cohere Collective's channel. I have 2 other podcasts. One of them is a daily podcast that helps you build purpose and coherence into your daily routine. The other one is a bi-weekly podcast where I interview people who live lives of meaning, about how they live those lives and about what meaning means to them. I also am a master certified life coach and work one-on-one with people to help them find and pursue their purpose in whatever way that makes sense for their coherence. So if you're interested in that, please head on over to www.thecoherecollective.com to check out my services. And if you want to know more about me, about the story of the Cohere Collective, our website is a great place to learn more too. Give us a follow on Instagram or basically any social media that exists. And thank you for being here, for being a part of my purpose and my coherence and sharing your coherence with me. I hope you all feel like you are living more coherently. And until next time, love.